Shalom, upresti hawa, Bashem Yashab, Bashem Harakakadash. Don't want to say all the apostles of great millstone of rule and Shalom, so the brothers doing the way, stirring truth, pushes word to the four corners. Just wanted to, chip in on the Maduro and Venezuela situation because you've had Venezuela just kind of taken over. They swooped in on the first full moon of the new year. And then, they're saying the operation they did, they they had no casualties, and they just come in, extracted Maduro and his wife. Them motherfuckers are in New York right now, which is fucking crazy when you just consider it. It just ran up in another country, grabbed up the leader, and then just said yeah, and what basically to them. Because what does it say? So it's on AP News. Says Maduro says I was captured as he pleads not guilty to drug trafficking charges. A defiant Nicolas Maduro declared himself the president of my country as he protested his capture and pleaded not guilty Monday to federal drug trafficking charges that the Trump administration used to justify removing him from power in Venezuela. And yeah, it's basically that old same spirit that you really had at the forefront during post World War II in what's it called? Post World War II in the what's the term? In the Cold War, where either the Russians or the Americans would be moving to these different locations, different countries, and then trying to spread their influence. So that you had Cuba Missile Crisis, and those things, because the USSR was trying to get influence in the sphere around the US, and then the US was putting missiles in Turkey and whatnot, Poland, and these things became points of contention between the two powers. But now the old spirits come back, where they're just going in, starting conflicts in these regions. Why? So they can go in and grab people up. So it says, I was captured, Maduro said in Spanish, as translated by a courtroom interpreter, before being cut off by the judge. Asked later for his plea to the charges, he stated, I'm innocent, I'm not guilty, I'm a decent man, the constitutional president of my country. So yeah, he's, as far as it's meant to be, the glorious, what do they call it? The glorious, constitutional democracy or whatever, where everyone has a vote, every vote is equal. You vote the guy in, he's there to stay. But that until the US comes in, fly by night, and decides actually we don't like that guy in charge, and it's really that spirit of America, man, coming back, more stout than his fellows. And then Isaiah 14, that cruel leader, man. Because in fact, what would it be? Isaiah 14, still be 2. This is what Isaiah 14:4 says, that thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, hath the oppressor ceased, the golden city ceased, the Lord Jehovah hath broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger is persecuted, and none hindereth. And yeah, that's really the spirit. That's not what it was. The spirit that these different these nations have been seen on Esau. They've basically had to deal with him utilizing his power, because the reality of it is it goes back to his blessing, man. As far as how they how they pulled it off, it was using the same thing, Esau's blessing, man. I read a bit more. It says, criminal cases unfolding against a broader diplomatic backdrop of an audacious US-engineered regime change that President Donald Trump has said will enable his administration to run the South American country. So they basically grabbed it up, and then one of the key things about Venezuela has been the oil reserves, legendary oil reserves, that's functionally been what enriched them before, they earned the ire of America, and then they kind of turned the tap off on their abilities, to flourish. And then, what was it? Sanctions. They just, hem them off. So they have very limited ways for them to kind of do their thing. So that says what it's a criminal defendant. Was something a bit further down. Panamanian strongman says he tried to say. 25 page indictment accusing Maduro and others of working with drug cartels to facilitate shipments of thousands of tons of cocaine into the US. They could face life in prison if convicted. So yeah, they're that's the angle they're coming at from, where it's a thing. They're making it some a legal framework, a legal skeleton around it. But then it really comes down to the core of how Esau executes power on earth. Genesis 27 and 38 says, and Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing? My father, bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. Yeah. So, by the sword shalt thou live. And that's the means by which he executes power. By the sword. There's even, going back to, the pre-Esau, Cain, then his descendant, Tubal-Cain. It's been, what it's funny, because was it Tubal-Cain? Is it what Thawabal Kayan, the traveling mercenary man? Which, when you consider what happened in Venezuela, that's basically the same, the same role that was fulfilled. Gathering about the earth, basically going to all these different spots, executing that power. So read this Genesis 4 and so it says what? And Zillah, and 22, and Zillah also, she also bare Tubal-Cain, an instructor of every artificer in brass and iron, and the sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. And I think if you go to, I'm not even the interlinear actually, if you go to the NLT, says what? Lamech's other wife Zillah gave birth to a son named Tubal-Cain. He became an expert in forging tools of bronze and iron. Tubal-Cain had a sister named Naamah, so he was that weaponsmith. And it's funny, there was a video I've not watched it yet, where they're going into detail on how Maduro got snatched. Someone sent it to me, and even with that, there was a comment that said the U.S. military has got weapons and tools that we don't even know about. And that's something that people don't keep in mind. As far as a lot of the military tech, you'll hear people talking about in in a contemporary sense now, will be tech from the Cold War, from maybe the 90s. A lot of it's old tech, and you ain't really gonna be hearing about what's going on with the new tech. Behind closed doors. It's just like how operations that happened in the 70s, those things got declassified in the 2000s, when everyone involved was dropped dead. And then in the meantime, whatever the fuck's going on behind closed doors, no one knows. So it's those crafts that have been brought, from even before the flood. Them crafts from back then. It says what? And Lamech said unto his wives, Ada and Zillah, hear my voice, ye wives of Lamech, hearken unto my speech, for I have slain a man to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt. If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, truly Lamech 70 and sevenfold. And yeah, that's the spirit Esau has. Whereas, anyone that lays hand on Cain will be cursed, You know, we return them sevenfold. He's thinking like, damn, well, if it's sevenfold on Cain, as you descend it, it's going to be 77-fold on me. So I might as well start. So, of course, you know, you lay hands. Because what does it say in the cross references? In the NLT, it's a bit clearer. It says, one day Lamech said to his wives, Ada and Zillah, hear my voice. Listen to me, you wives, as Lamech. I have killed a man who attacked me, a young man who wounded me. So, you know, taking life is justified because why? You know, anyone that lays hands on him, it'll be returned sevenfold. And, you know, that traveling mercenaries, you know, Esau moves around in the earth. That hubris, that pride he moves in, that's, you know, it's not anything new. But now it's just basically been a lot of things is as far as when it comes to Trump, he's just broadcasting that spirit out there, man, where it can't be denied. The whole philanthropist spirit, you know, oh, you know, we're trying to do good. That angel of light spirit, that's waning out of existence. Because why? That's waning out of existence because, you know, he's can't be hid behind actions Trump's doing, man. But yeah, I'll leave it there. Shalom.